This is CliffCentral.com.
Hi everyone, my name is Nonhlanhla Mdluli.
Hi, this is Thabo Mdluli. You're on BeLighted with Rami and Romeo on Cliff Central, on radio, unscripted, uncensored. That's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Gets me all the time.
If people can know what we were doing before the show started.
Yeah, well, you know. Ooh. Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, I was dancing.
What do you mean you were dancing?
Hey?
How?
When I'm at Ramza, you were watching.
Oh, wait, man.
Okay, that sounds wrong. I'm dancing, you're watching.
You see, this
how
is how rumors started.
How cupcake.
My darling. Good morning, man.
Hey, how's it, Ramza?
Sharp.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. Welcome to BeLighted with Rami and Romeo on Cliff Central. It's a Monday morning. You know how we start the week. Get yourself a dose of BeLighted, and by the time the week is over, guess what? It is another Monday then.
Yeah. But you know what? Do you notice how you actually can bring your own sunshine? You can bring your own happiness from nothing, from just randomly deciding to be happy.
I know.
Like we started dancing and we are so happy. And you ask us why we are happy. We don't know. Bottom line is we are happy, Jay.
We are happy. We're always happy, man.
Yeah.
We're always happy. We must always bring the happy in this thing.
Yeah. So what's happening when Tigom? You must tell people what Tigom stands for.
I can't believe you want to talk about Tigom.
No. Tell people what Tigom stands for, because everybody's on this Tigom hashtag, but they don't know what it means.
No, they kind of know. Okay, guys, Tigom stands for the gracious one, Mabuza.
Ah, right.
You know, that's gracious Mabuza on the Queen.
Yeah, Tigom has spoken.
And then what? And everyone wants to know how the story started. The whole Tigom thing started.
Right.
It's because, you know, gracious Mabuza thinks of herself as like one of the most important things that has ever hit Earth, and she likes talking about herself in the third person.
Right.
So, out of the blue, I think one of my first phone calls that Tigom gets when she answers her phone, and it was a complete surprise on set.
Okay.
So they're like, okay, the phone is ringing, pick up the phone, and I go, the gracious one.
Oh.
Yeah. So she never says hello.
Yeah.
She always goes, the gracious one.
Yes.
And then eventually, I don't know, then in one of the lines I went, the gracious one Mabuza.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Then the gracious one Mabuza felt long. I was like, no, then it's Tigom. And then I remember the director was like, Tigom? What is Tigom now? There was like, Tigom, the gracious one Mabuza.
Yeah.
And it stuck. I didn't know it will stuck in public.
Yeah.
But on set, at work, they call me Tigom
Right.
because they just think it's the
But
funniest
also,
thing ever.
let me bring you back to something that is very important to that. Do you notice how influential you are? Even though I know you refuse to give yourself credit, but anything that you touch, you know, you have so much influence. And my challenge to you is, how can you use that influence in everything you want to do with your life? And secondly, I noticed, congratulations, I see Kekwelem has your book now. Yeah? Tigom like that.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Kagwela and Ruby Whalem are here. They're leaving tonight.
Right.
And yeah.
And you had the privilege to have dinner with
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we went out for dinner.
Yeah.
And it was quite nice.
In the presence of greatness. Tigom.
Yeah, well, they're sitting with Tigom.
Yeah.
And he was laughing at that scene where Gracious is running after
Running
Brutus
after
with the gun.
Brutus.
I couldn't believe he watched that. He's like, you know, I watched you, girl, and I saw you gun toting that thing. I was thinking, oh my Lord.
Yeah.
I just can't believe it. So
Yeah.
do you know how to use a gun? I'm like, you were watching? It's like, yeah, no, I was watching.
There's another something important that you're mentioning now. Do you notice how good PR, let's say you have PR around the events that you attend, and what they do, they would actually say who's coming to the event,
Yeah.
and then they give them a profile of who's going to be there.
Yeah.
And you would wonder why Kekwelem actually saw.
I think that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
They just said, but I mean, it was like 6 people. It was dinner for 6 people.
So
but I think
I'm sure he
was
asked,
like, who's there?
Who's coming?
Yeah.
I want their profile.
Yeah. Because even when I got, it's like, so I know you're acting. And I was like, yeah?
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm a CSI. I'm Terry. Much about Trump. They're all over me, you know? Yeah. And it was the conversation was amazing. We wanted to, because I was there with Judith as well. So we wanted to talk about Donald Trump, and they're like, no, please don't do that to us. We don't want to talk about that guy.
Yeah.
let's talk about Zuma instead. We're like, no.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. You know what? Let's not talk about politics. Let's talk about other things.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
Sure.
It was so funny. Yeah. I think their problems are bigger than ours. Well, personally speaking.
No, I mean,
honestly,
no, I mean, you are right. I mean, from where we are sitting.
from where we are sitting,
it looks very scary.
Americans are in complete cuck.
Disarray.
Yeah, no, matata fela, Shem. Matata fela. And how was your week? You're busy talking about Tigom and Kegwelam and all of that. That's done, been there, done that.
Let me teach you something.
Yeah?
I'm a sales guy.
I know.
No, you're gonna love this. So as a sales guy, one of the things that we do in a pitch, especially when you pitch to people you don't know, what you do is you build rapport. And rapport is, I need to say something that
Big
will
English.
connect. No. It's a simple word. Yeah. Immediately, you need to find something that will kind of like spark commonality and something that will make us connect as soon as possible.
Yep.
Exactly how Kekwelam did with you. Immediately, like you fell in love with him, you knew you were going to enjoy the dinner, right?
Yes.
That's rapport.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is also showing you as your friend, I know what's going on in your life. Hashtag.
Yes, you do.
You see?
You do.
Yeah.
Do, Shem. You do, Shem, and you still haven't answered my question. I still went, how was your week? And
My
you
week
told
was
me about
awesome.
your sales.
So I started a school of sales, by the way.
Oh, yes. I saw you were doing a presentation.
It's not a presentation, it was training.
Yeah, training, whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah, you even brought a whole PowerPoint thing happening there.
Yeah. So we started a school of sales. where
And
we
you were
teach-
posing. You know how do I know that you're posing
man,
for a
don't be like
picture?
that,
No,
man.
tell me. Do you know how I know you're posing for a picture?
You tell me, yeah.
It's if your finger is pointing, I know you're posing. Because every time I say, okay, we take a picture, you go. I don't know why you do that. Your finger always points out. I was like, okay, that was a pose. That was a pose. Anyway, enough about us. Guys, woo! Hey, let me tell you who we have in studio today.
Yeah.
Rami.
Yes.
Doing duty.
Yeah.
For the ladies of the land.
Yeah. If you have to say so
Granted,
yourself,
even
you
if
are
I
very
say
proud.
So myself,
Yeah.
even if I say so myself.
Yeah.
Pulling some country duty here.
Yeah.
Bringing that guy
I was like, yeah.
in studio.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just listen. Do you know how powerful I feel right now? I just feel like I could be like talking to like.
You know where I
who's
knew
the
you were
president of
powerful.
Russia.
You know where I knew you were powerful.
Yeah?
When he retweeted your tweet. I'm like, this one. This one is too powerful. I knew right there.
Okay.
Yes. Bring back.
Are we doing the drum roll?
We're doing
No.
the drum. No,
Oh,
this is big.
gosh.
This is
Oh,
big.
gosh. Okay.
We've got the president in the house.
Yeah.
The president of Twitter.
Yes. Of Black Twitter.
Of Black Twitter.
The
Yeah.
president of Black Twitter.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going.
Let me get my
Cue me,
fruit on.
cue me.
Let me get my fruit on. Go. Ladies and gentlemen,
Yes.
on BeLighted this morning,
yeah.
on the 4th of September, we've got
Yep.
in studio
Yep.
the handsome,
How's like? Confirmed.
the flawless,
Confirmed.
the unstoppable,
Yes.
the influential,
Ever smiling.
the powerful,
Yes.
the smiling, the who's who in the zoo,
Yes.
the other bay,
The virtual detective.
the virtual detective,
The virtual
the
vigilante.
servant of the people,
Yes.
the CountryDuty president, the one man
The co-founder.
who's prepared
Yes.
to lay it all up there
Yeah.
and take a bullet or two
Yes.
for the masses,
Yes.
putting his life in danger.
Justice
to
for
bring
all.
justice for all
Yes.
in the land of us believing, the land of South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to BeLighted
Yes.
on this day, this Monday, the 4th of September.
Yeah.
Welcome, Tumi Sole.
Hey, Tara.
Good morning, everyone.
Love the mic, love the mic, love the mic.
That's
Romance the mic.
okay.
Make love to the mic.
I think with such an intro, where does one start?
Oh, by the way, he can dance.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we saw you.
Yes.
I
bear
try,
witness.
but I think one needs to be careful. The skill in the studio is on another level. I'm hoping I will leave with a few dance moves. December's loading.
Sure.
December is loading.
December is loading. Yeah.
Welcome.
To BeLighted, man.
Thank you.
Wow,
you.
what an honor! What an honor to have you. Because I know how this man is in demand.
I know. Well, he said my gods. What was the word? He said He said my gods were working overtime.
Indeed.
He just happened to be available.
Yeah.
In the morning, like now.
Wow.
Yeah. After this,
perfect time. Yeah.
After this, then I'll see him next year.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to take a number and stand in line.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, I think we probably talk about this a little later. But she had a perfect timing, as I said, and I'm on leave today in case people are wondering why am I not at WMC, as they call it. no Investec duty, as others are saying.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I'm not at work today. I'm on leave. I actually have to start my assignment. But yeah, thank you for having me today.
Because you are actually a student as well.
I am. I'm pursuing my master's degree at WITS in business and commerce law. I'm doing it part-time, but eventually it will be done next year.
Stop being with Manamela.
Did
you see that?
Congratulations to Muti as well.
That comment is very clear. It's inspiring. I mean,
I know.
I quoted it. In fact, I saw it on your timeline, and I said, you know, it's time that young leaders make education fashionable, and it's exactly that. And I think we need to encourage and congratulate.
You know,
people
I was saying
law.
stop being with Manamela. After Muti said he got his masters, somebody said stop trying to be we said. I'm like,
That's really.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he actually gave kind of like the same response, saying, "Listen, in fact, I am trying to be like we said.
100%.
Who wouldn't want to be?" you
But
know?
also, you need to understand it's a big deal to someone who's achieved it.
100%.
Until you do it, you'll never understand what it means.
Yeah,
You don't understand how much work you put into actually getting that letter confirming that you are conferred.
yeah, and I'm just waiting for the honorary doctorate. Shem. I'm not even joking like that.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
But don't worry, my friend, it's coming.
no, it has to because I'm
yes,
just thinking
From
guys,
the arts perspective, bon.
I agree.
Bon.
I absolutely agree.
No, like, seriously.
If really you want us to start a hashtag, we can do that.
Oh no!
So we can confirm.
Now we can hook you up.
You know,
No,
Say
so
the word.
just say whatever you're ready.
To me, okay, wait. To me, stop. You're not the one interviewing us here.
Let's
Focus.
just say.
No, but I'm with you,
Focus.
brother.
Focus.
Fist pump.
I can't believe you're having fist pumping over this. Okay,
Yeah.
Tumi, let's go back. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. And how are you?
Oh, I can't believe you're sitting right in front of me. Guys, Tumi sitting in front of me like, hello.
Yeah.
I should be taking selfies and not focusing on the interview.
You need to stop with this I thing. It's we.
No.
You say it to me sitting in front of you.
Yeah, well,
He
he's
is
sitting
sitting-
beside you, but
Aye,
in
man.
front of me.
No. You see, we are going to fight. You must say we.
Okay,
Sorry.
guys, while Romeo is still trying to fight me, but you can find that we are on Twitter at BeLighted Show.
Yep.
And we've got our WhatsApp line. You can talk to us 079-748-2090.
Yep.
And tell us what you think. Give us your thoughts. And when Romeo, they told me,
What?
other people who listen to us on the show, they said, I must tell you that you must stop saying, did Puleng say anything? Because now they're listening, but you're busy going, Upuleng.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
No, fine.
Yeah. I was like, okay, I will tell him to stop saying Upuleng.
No, it's fine. No, that's done.
Yeah.
The people have spoken. Switch off my torch. The tribe has spoken.
Switching off your light.
Thank you.
To me?
Yes.
Yeah. All of a sudden, there's CountryDuty happening. Hashtag CountryDuty on Twitter. And people are like, where did this guy come from? Okay, I'm not telling people where I saw Tumi first.
Wait, where were you?
I've
asked me and I refused to tell him.
yesterday. I said, listen, how did you suddenly come about? You know, because I think she slid in the DM. I'm like, hey, greatness, what is this? You know,
I slid into his DMs. You know how they say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I slid into his DMs. Says, hey, now you must come to the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, by the way, I was like, no, I'm not telling you. But anyway, this guy, Oratos Troya.
Oh.
That's what I'm telling. And that's what I said. Orata manyalo abuto. Orata manyalo.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oratos Troya. Yeah. And that's all I said. And that's how we're gonna keep it. But anyway, but he doesn't know me from a bar of soap. He could have walked
Like,
past.
do you wanna
he
have
could
that-
walked-
do you
he
wanna
could
have that
walked
argument?
past me. No, I'm telling you.
No, wait.
Eh?
Do you want to have that argument? What do you mean he did that? What is this bar soap?
Please.
Like, what is this bar soap?
Guys,
What
focus.
color is the soap?
Guys, focus.
We're
Focus.
back. We're back.
Focus. Hans, what's wrong with the two of you? You don't deserve data. Two of you. You don't deserve data right now. Okay, Tumi, back to you. Okay, I know where I found you. I know where I know you from. But now people do not know you. They only find you on #CountryDuty. They don't know whether you're fixing, you're fighting, you're defending, you're opposing. You are doing everything. And then next thing, there's this huge fun side of you with those videos that you like posting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why doesn't this guy sleep? What's wrong with him? Because I work around the clock.
Yes.
And the next thing, like at 1 o'clock, this guy will be like putting some weird videos, weird stuff on Twitter. I'm like, order. Aren't you sleeping? No, it's like he's just there. He's just out there. Okay, so tell us a bit about yourself, because you just didn't wake up and found yourself on Twitter.
That much is true. Where do I start?
From the beginning, you've got give or take 37 minutes.
I'm from Soweto. I was born in Dobsonville.
Right.
And we subsequently moved to a place called Snake Park. It's an informal settlement just outside Dobsonville. Last born Kohai, so I'm the I'd say youngest.
How many siblings?
I'm not. There's 4 of us, so 2 sisters and brother and myself.
Wow.
And
Stability equation.
Yeah, one time.
yeah, I think my dad at the time was very strategic and
Well placed.
and he had a proper plan, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I studied, or rather I went to school in Dobsonville.
Yeah.
Completed my matric at PJ Simelane, also in Dobsonville. And growing up, Koka was very interesting and lovely. You get to see a host of things.
Yeah.
And such things also influence, in my view, how one turns out at the end of the day. I'm not sure how I've turned out, but I hope in a positive way. Probably your listeners would say, but it is what it is. And as I said, growing up in Soweto, Dobsonville, Snake Park, shaped, in my view, the person I think I have become, from, experiencing crime, from all other ills that you'd probably see in a township, but more importantly, the positivity that comes out of that. I mean, I think Soweto has been great. One gets to appreciate, the good and the bad side of it, but more importantly, it's a decision that one does and say, this is how I would like to have my life, and more importantly, to have a positive one at that. And I think that's eventually what then transpired. I then went to Wits, got accepted there, did my undergraduate LLB, and first year I didn't stay at Res. and really at the time it was because of the requirements. More importantly, one was on financial aid,
the money,
and the monies and stuff like that. Second year, then that subsequently changed, and I also got to then.
So did they give you money, or did you make money, to me?
Well, they gave me money. I have to say, I mean, government with the NSFAS scheme has been great.
Was it 14 million?
No, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
I wish it was.
I wish it was
I wish it was. But hey, the little that one had to take and had to make the best of it. And then I was at Res from second year, and hey, university was great. That much I can tell you.
Well, I'm a university dropout because I didn't enjoy being in university, because I started working like in my second year immediately, and I thought, I think I make more money being out of university than in university.
Yes.
So I think that's what happened. Okay, but now you're in Wits. Okay. Once you like and then you get into a whole lot of things. Then after that, then what happened? I know you started working.
I did. I actually worked for a human rights organization. So at the time, I was applying for articles. So I wasn't really one of those bright students at school. I mean, I must say.
But you talked a lot.
Well, amongst other things. I mean, I did a few things at university with the Vets volunteer program. So community outreach programs. I went to Mozambique, where they had a Vets and the University of Mozambique interaction, the exposure there. you would recall in Mozambique, I think in 2008 or 10, where there were floods. At that particular time, there was a initiative that vet students, the South African government, and Mozambique really worked on and stuff. So that program started at the time, and I understand that it's still continuing. But the purpose of it at the particular time and now is really to give students, an opportunity to experience things differently. Because I think at times you come from a comfort zone and you think you're struggling, and then when you go out, you'll realize that other people are actually having it hard.
Yeah.
And that's when you start appreciating the little things and getting another perspective insofar as life is concerned.
Now, in terms of, young people growing up, most of us don't have a clue what we want to be, when we are older. But your life seems to be the one where, you're always doing some good for
it's
someone.
like it's too much in order.
Would you say that, looking at then and now, you've always followed the same compass route?
I think so. It's been like that. I think, as I said, growing up in Soweto, you look out for positivity and role models. I found myself doing extramural activities. There were things which called the cast. I mean, so where you do drama, gumboot stands and stuff like that.
Okay.
Right.
And then you would go
That's
to...
such a casting name, Decast.
Yes, it is, but it just shows that I've been there. So we did that, and we would sing, we'd go out. This Saturday easy, find us having the donation form just for people to support us and stuff like that. And
But can you sing though?
Oh no, I can't.
Yeah, because I mean,
I
we
can't.
say he sings. He's like the soloist of the party, but you can't sing. But then you
To save my, I can't, and please don't even ask me, Kiako.
But then you
I
said
can't.
you were singing.
No, at the time, cast. I was at the back. Maybe I should have said I was humming.
Okay.
So
got
that was that. I was in school. We did debating and would go around schools with the district at the time, and we then started a debating society at PJ, and it then progressed. I headed it with a few friends, and it really changed, in my view, the perception. Because then at the time, at the school Kokasi, you then end up competing with other schools, which
The private
we called
schools,
private
Hussein
schools or
Bankman.
model C schools, for
Yeah.
example. And we went provincial on issues. Eventually found ourselves in the nationals and debating, coming out second here and there. So that exposure, in my view, was good. And as I said, gives one perspective insofar as certain things. Fast forward, vets, community-based programs, fun, balancing academics and stuff, working then at the human rights organization. That's when one then got to see the difficulty, outside university, and one then, how do you then balance that? The organization that I worked for primarily at the time was dealing with helping people in Zimbabwe. You'd recall at the time, that's when I'd say the reign of Robert Mugabe, and I'm using it loosely, was very difficult. And I'm saying using it loosely because, unfortunately, the likes of Zoto Abantu has apparently been banned. So I need to be careful insofar as what I say, in case I find myself in Zimbabwe.
You might just not make it in Zimbabwe.
Yes. And what would happen is most people from Zimbabwe would come into South Africa, most of them without documentation, but they legitimately had, they sought asylum status. And because of the difficulties, because of their political affiliations, they found themselves really with no place to go.
Yeah. Right.
So this organization would then assist them in applying for documentations, which we called asylum papers. And refugee status. So they would then say, this is who I am, I have a difficulty, this is what I'm experiencing, my house was burnt down or was attacked, I have nowhere else to go, can you just please give us 6 months or so that I can figure myself out, and at the right time, hopefully things will change in Zimbabwe and I'll go back.
We need to go to a commercial break.
Yeah.
If you just tuned in...
He does that all the time.
If you just tuned in, I need to be serious.
Yeah.
It's a commercial break. If you just tuned in, we are in conversation with Tumi Sole. Actually, I want to say Tumi Sole because he really
Tumi Sole.
Tumi Sole, and he is really, inspiring change. And also, he brings a different perspective around, helping the marginalized, helping people who chances are, if it was not for what he studied, you would know about them. You know, we'll talk about some of the instances that he's really brought to light. And of course, if you wanna join in the conversation, 079-748-2090. That's our WhatsApp number, 079-748-2090. Otherwise, you can hit us up at Rami Chweni or Maromza on Twitter or Instagram, Facebook, BeLighted with Rami and Romeo. And we are back from commercial break. Rami, you can continue.
I can continue. Okay, Tumi, let's talk about. So now, when people are seeking asylum from Zimbabwe, did you also organize accommodation for them, and like how would people be placed, or is it that like I kind of have somewhere to go, but I need you guys to give me papers so I can walk around?
So the papers were not really being given by this organization.
Yeah,
so what would happen is you would assist them, go to Home Affairs, and then would ask them, put in an application and say, these are the factors, these are the circumstances. Will you please then assist in getting that? But what we would see is most of them had families in and around.
Yeah.
Because of the difficulties. So families would have come first and they would say, I know an uncle, for example, in Zola or somewhere.
Yeah.
Just please help me, and then I'll find myself
Yeah.
out. So, that's what used to happen. So we would be in court almost every week, Tuesdays and Thursday, and it was a very interesting time from a legal perspective where, government would arrest Home Affairs, a host of people without papers. And they had that duty in any event. And I'm not saying that they didn't do it according to the law.
Yeah.
But at the time, and if you look at some of the provisions in terms of the Immigration Act and the likes, there's a certain number of days or times that people can be detained for. And if they're detained over and above those times, then they ought to be released.
Yeah.
But what we found was at the time that some people would actually spend over 180 days in detention at Lindela. And because of that, then it means, that then violates the particular act. And we then bring urgent applications to assist and have people being released. And some of them, would support working together with the Department of Home Affairs for them to be sent back home and stuff. So it was not really a carte blanche view of saying, let people come into South Africa. Only if you had a legitimate cause or status in the country that you would stay, given the current situation at the time. So that was my first work experience. I then moved on and I worked at the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development as a judge's associate at the time. Worked with various judges there, and I developed a passion for labor law. And it got interesting from human rights to now labor law, and it got very attractive because what you would see, it was unfortunately at the end where people are now fighting. So one wouldn't know how did this fight start other than having advocates on the side saying, listen, my client is right, or I did this, or I had to fire X and Y and stuff like that. And it was very interesting. Started having discussions with some of the practitioners that would come. I eventually then got an interview at one of the largest law firms in the country or in Africa. And right now, in fact, I then went and finished off my articles there. And then I practiced for 3.5
Wait,
years.
don't worry. Here we name and shame. Tell us.
We name and boost.
No, well, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do that.
You are.
It's on radio.
Okay.
This is on radio.
Anything goes
Let's
here.
Talk about anyone we want.
Well, obviously in a positive light in any event, but it was, as I said, it's one of Africa's largest law firms. It was great. I worked there for 3.5 years. It was lovely. Gave me one of the best times in my professional career. Exposed me to a host of things and practice. But growing up, one also has to make decisions based on family and the likes. I then said, I want to just pause a bit of practice so that I can focus on myself, family time, and all those other things. And then I left, and I'm now at my current employer. And, it's more relaxed.
The one who gave
but
you
it's-
leave today.
Yes,
So you
yes.
could be-
All
Absolutely.
right. So
Yeah.
I've always wanted to ask you this.
Yes.
By the way, you see, and I also come from the same school of thought, where we find that there's a saying that he who provides help usually never gets the same help back. And what that means is, I want you to help someone in the same situation where you actually don't mind giving away the whole bread, and nobody asks if you've eaten.
Yeah.
And how do you balance that to make sure that you also take care of yourself? Because unfortunately, the society always demands of your time without somebody asking if you need time.
Yeah. That's a important and interesting question. What I've seen recently with hashtag CountryDuty, and I need to mention this, it's not just me behind that particular hashtag.
Right.
And in answering your question, it goes to the masses, the people on Twitter, even off Twitter, who would then come in and also take care of certain things, where people will take up a course and say, listen, can I help you? I know X, Y. Can I at least take it further in that instance? Because to be honest, I won't have time. I have my day job. I have breaks here and there, but the least I could do with 140 characters is just to tweet something and raise awareness insofar as that is concerned. And people, and I've seen they've come up and they will take courses up and eventually you get a result. So in answering your question, yes, that happens, even though not often. In fact, I've realized that I think I take up more of my time in relation to assisting rather than receiving the assistance. But it is what it is, and I'm not saying that I expect that from people. It's the general nature of things.
You have to balance it.
Yeah, but now you're maybe like, I know you like getting into the personal stuff. Let's take it back.
Can you just ask your question?
Okay, stop it. Okay,
No, you
let's go
stop
back.
it.
No, wait, Romeo.
We have such a nice flow.
Romeo,
and you have to mess things
Romeo.
up.
He's always like this, so forgive him.
I am not.
To me, okay, let's take it back. Let's take it back a bit.
Yeah.
This whole thing of helping, because where do you get it from? And when I say where do you get it from, I'm talking in terms of your upbringing or last born. So clearly that a couple of lessons that you've learned, you've had the opportunity to see like from parents, then to your siblings, and to just like take it all in. But what has been your biggest influence in terms of choosing the line of work, I'm not saying job, the line of work that you do, because not everyone has people skills. Not everyone can think like you think. And it's like, it will, I don't know, even if you denied it, it will just follow you around, because it's not just about the hashtag CountryDuty. Right now, we're seeing the result of something that you have done for over, I don't know how many years. I mean, it's been over 10 or 12 years now, talking about when you were in, when you started off Kovetsi, but you've always done a whole lot of human resources, human rights, people displaced, you're always helping somebody somewhere. It looks like you're into people's business. Yes. And what was your biggest influence? How did you get into that? Other people, they're in their own spaces. I mean, someone would rather sit and write and not necessarily running from one door to another, finding someone or someone got ID photo to take them by hand and help them. Where did you get that from?
Before you answer that, I think also it's important. I think we want to give people context. Can you first answer the question, but also just explain the hashtag and how people can actually go now on Twitter and maybe follow you as well, so that they can understand exactly what we're talking about?
Okay. Yeah. I think the following, or the influence, started from home, really. I come, as I said, there were 4 of us at the time, but we had a large family. So I'd see, especially from my mom's side, who she would really take up some of the cousins and stuff, and growing up in a nice little shack at the time, people would come in, there'll be tons of us sleeping, and sharing that small yana space. But what it meant for me is, Mom has a great heart. She was very inclusive, and she would not say, I don't have money too. As long as people are inside the house or shack for that matter, it was what mattered. So we grew up in a close knit with cousins and relatives, and that showed that, the little things do matter. So my mother has really been a great influence in my life in extending help, and I mean, she's done so much for me growing up without a dad. My dad passed away when I was 15, and this is when I'm trying to get into high school, and the difficulties growing up as a a boy child and seeing some experiences and not having, I'd say, a father figure for that matter. So she played that role immensely, and I think she's shaped me to become the person I am. So in answering your question, my mom is the most influential person in my life, who has given, everything that she could. She ensured that I went to school. She ensured that my brother, my sisters really have whatever it takes. And as she would always say, if I am not around anymore, the very least that you could say is, Mom at least tried. And if, for example, I didn't take a chance, I shouldn't blame her. And, so that was the give and take in my view, and what was the most important thing for me.
Right.
So going to your question with regards to the hashtag, I think one needs to go back to how it eventually came about. You would recall that there's this concept or notion on Twitter called guarding of the country.
Yeah.
And that arose during your Praveen, your Jacob Zumas, and stuff like that, where, statements would be issued out at odd hours and people would be looking and you would never know.
Don't go to sleep. You never know how we're going to wake up.
Those type of things. And I mean, as I said, I would participate in that. And that notion was out there on Twitter. But what, in my view, wasn't out there was hashtag CountryDuty. So it was mentioned as guarding of the country and stuff, but not it being consolidated into a particular hashtag.
Yeah.
Right.
And it took, as I said, and I always say, particular time where we then still waiting and guarding, that I put it hashtag CountryDuty. And I asked people, troops at that time, and I said, guys, will you please log on or either report for duty using a meme? And it just blew. People would get in with the most hilarious memes that I've ever seen, and all of them like, now we're waiting.
Some of us are victims of those memes.
Exactly.
I think about the one where you have a tear.
And he even used that one yesterday as
but
well.
And I think that's greatness. I think when you've made it as a meme, I think you've achieved,
No, that's
and it goes back to this honorary thing. Those are some of the stuff that you could put up in an application of getting a doctorate.
I know.
So that was that. But I had to then ask this question that, other than cutting and sitting and this thing being fun, how can it be something of a social change?
Yeah.
And that's how, for me, hashtag CountryDuty came about. And I then looked at this and I said, people are in support of this thing.
Yeah.
And I then read up. I mean, I would think of myself as someone who's being, technologically inclined. I'm able to understand the trends, how they work, and how can one use them to effect particular change. So I looked at the current political status at the time. I looked at what societal issues, for example, and how can then put this thing together through a hashtag and make it meaningful. And it started really waiting, and eventually, what then? What is it that people are seeking? From answers, from frustrations.
Yeah.
How can one go about doing it? Because I've seen, and I think all of us may have experienced this, where if you sit behind your desk and you send an email and you are complaining, no one really takes you serious. But you get onto social media and you start making noise, and depending on who follows you or how you go about doing it, that will then gain traction. And, we then started, and when I say we, because Tumi is not the only one behind hashtag CountryDuty.
Right.
Everyone who's on Twitter, in my view, is effectively, and
I'm on
use
the silly side
the
of
hashtag.
CountryDuty.
It's exactly that. And CountryDuty, in my view, is whatever that you want it to be. As long as it's positive and as long as it's fun and it gets people going and talking. That's for me what it's all about. So there was various instances, and I think most people would have seen this, where there were complaints that were not attended to. There were issues, be it in government or otherwise in private sector, that people would then raise their frustrations. I'd pick them up
and
then I'd assist. So that's how, in my view, hashtag CountryDuty came apart and effectively became one of the biggest trending hashtags in my view in South Africa.
Because
Right.
I think it's like our new kind of national notice board. I mean, I know like
Absolutely.
people like saying I like doing announcement on my own Twitter handle, but yeah, that's a story for another day. But for me, Country Duty, it is that thing that, you know, whether you've got something to report, and once you hashtag, then there's a whole lot of
floods.
people, it floods, and then, you know, and then it goes all over the place, and people are able to catch that on. But I must say that we have definitely failed one of our sisters in terms of our hashtag Country Duties, because our sister Babes Wodumo lost her USB that had a very serious song that she wanted, and we kind of looked for it, but then okay, it turned out it was like it had fallen under the
cassie.
couch, whatever.
Oh,
someone
yeah,
of the,
yeah, and-
yeah,
yeah.
you know. But then she found it, and she was basically begging for someone who has the link to the song, so she can she can delete it, you know. And and I don't know how, you know, as the country just couldn't like just come up together.
But I think we did, you know, but even not as much,
But
really,
and
you know.
just,
And
you know, the sense of urgency. Like you
Yes.
don't understand the frustration of losing a USB. You know what I mean? And now the link as well. We're trying to find e-link, Yase West Inc.
You know.
And it is not foundable.
Rhyme it, sister.
Indeed.
Rhyme it.
Indeed.
You know,
Indeed.
you know what I mean? But eventually we are glad that it showed up.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
glad that it showed up. But now, to me, okay, on another serious note is that
Yes.
I think I personally think there's a big gap in politics. Okay, and I'm going to ask you are you planning on going to politics? Yeah, you'll answer that later. But there's a big gap in where our politics are sitting right now. I'm talking in terms of age gap and the upcoming leaders. And I keep saying in like every day I reiterate that we've got a gap of, I don't know, 40 something, anything between over 45 and 55. There's a huge gap there where I think a whole lot of people dropped the ball. We didn't get into, I think after 94, everyone was just trying to get into themselves and trying to establish, be themselves, get businesses going. Now all of a sudden our kids can go into different schools and all of that. That in terms of politically, we've dropped the ball, which is why there is such a huge gap that is open between the very old politicians and the very young aspiring politicians. And I think that's one of the biggest influences and contributors to what the state of the country is looking like now. So what is your take on that? And my next question is like, are you thinking of getting into politics? Because yes, I know there's a big difference being a very active citizen who is fighting for the
Social
rights
change.
for social change and all of that, or who'd actually physically decide like, you know what, fine, if you can't did it, I will did it. And then you want to get in there, you know? Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you insofar as getting into politics, or rather looking at the political play for now. There's a huge gap. I agree with you. I think most of us really got comfortable in letting our leaders, being there.
Leaders.
We-
Someone's put a tweet saying, leaders, Mr. Sole, leaders. It is, I'll tell you who it was. It's Mrs. D. Makosi.
Thank you, leadership there. So it's that. I think, as I said, we got comfortable. We said these are our leaders, but there was, in my view, less of a succession plan. You know, even though in the country, and if you look at most of the political parties where there are youth leagues and stuff like that, you know, insofar as them planning for a succession, it becomes a little difficult because, and very interesting, because those youth leagues would have to deal with their party, you know, policies and be aligned. Whereas, you know, the youth or most people in South Africa are probably looking for something a little different. You know, and that is either not politically aligned, or even if it is, but it would serve their interest. So that gap, you're absolutely right, it hasn't been filled, or we are seeing it now where people are being, you know, active and voicing their views and saying, listen, screw this is what we want, and this is how we want it. And I think social media is also driving that particular space and ensuring that it will eventually get there.
And
so,
it's sorry to interject, but also in my view, I find that politicians or politics is actually now in more trouble than they actually want to realize.
Yes.
Because people are You cannot do Dlalegabatu anymore.
Absolutely.
You know, and, you know, I mean, I remember one person actually saying, I'm going to vote based on your manifesto.
Yes.
Your manifesto needs to kind of like speak to, you know, the succession planning and so forth. But also, you notice how now, when somebody comes and saying, yeah, so-and-so has done this, people are not woo anymore. It's like, no, but what have you done?
Absolutely.
And I like that.
Yeah.
But also what I wanted to ask you as well, I wanted to get a little bit technical.
Yes.
In terms of the importance of having a social media strategy.
Yes.
You know, because anybody can start a hashtag.
100%.
But then how do you get to a point where a hashtag is as powerful as, you know, CountryDuty?
Yes.
And also I'm interested, I really wanted us, because of time, to also talk about some of the successful reports or reporting that you've done, and actually there was action, because I also believe in the power of M&E, which is your monitoring and evaluation,
100%.
to say we reported on this and this actually, and where's the thing now? So we can talk about maybe, let's say, the top 3 cases that were reported through this hashtag.
Sure. And
then there was actually action from the police minister, knowing our famous celebrity police minister.
Okay.
So I think number one, the importance of a sales strategy.
Yes.
Because people, I think there's still a lot of, especially businesses, that ignore the power of social media.
Yes.
And then secondly, we talk about the top 3. You know, obviously there's a lot more. The top 3.
Give us a report back.
Yeah, and then also what happened, where's the process?
Of course.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. I think social media on its own requires a bit of wit, you know, and a strategy. I think businesses are also coming in. That's why they employ your social media, you know, specialists, people who will monitor things, and most of them would then, you know, turn around and respond. But what I think is lacking insofar as business and social media, and especially the marketing part of it, we've recently seen some ads, in my view, that are distasteful.
Yeah.
And you know, it then, you know, blurs the line from racial undertones or otherwise, and the message then gets lost in so far as that is concerned.
Yes.
But that also for me speaks to a bigger picture where, you know, if you're sitting in a department, in a company, the marketing execs need to also include some of their junior employees insofar as decision making is concerned, and get their honest and objective views insofar as saying to them, what do you think if this goes, you know, out there? Do you think there might be issues or otherwise? Because, you know, if you are sitting there as an exec and you just sign off certain things, that may well result in issues for you. And I think it's always difficult to have a social media PR after the fact and trying to fix things, you know, because in fact, most of the time, and what we've seen is once there's a disaster, when they try and sort it out,
it becomes
just
worse,
goes, you know, offside, and it's terrible. And I think those things, you know, from a lessons perspective, can be fixed. And companies need to now start looking into it and saying, how do we get these things right? And look at those content. So insofar as hashtag CountryDuty is concerned, as I said, there are many people on CountryDuty. Almost everyone is. But there's a dedicated team, in my view, that I work closely with. Interestingly, most of the people I haven't actually met. And we occupy the social space, you know, from a strategy perspective, how we want to see things and how best can we raise issues, and also have a set of follow-ups and see what has happened. One incident relates to the KFC assault video. That video was on Facebook at that particular time, and someone sent it through to me via WhatsApp, and they then said, listen, here's this thing. You have the influence, just put it up there and let's at least see how best we can do it. I then took it up and I put it the initial one, and I said, this is what I've been told. It relates to KFC in Pretoria. Can you please identify the people? But more importantly, and you'll realize, I didn't say this is a racist attack. I said, there's this video that came up. Will you please, it's an assault. Can you guys please identify, and then let's report and take the authorities. And then it went viral. I mean, it was, I think, sitting at 4,500 retweets. I had to actually turn off the notifications because of that. And I do that with most of my tweets. In fact, I mute them because they have a life of their own, because I won't be able to do much. And then eventually, our minister got in and said, listen, I've actually asked people, police stations, we have now actually definitively found out. And they've been apprehended. We know now that they've been denied bail and the process is going on. We know that they've previous convictions, and it seems like this is something that they always do.
Yep.
So there was positivity in that impact, and it has resulted in good results. And quickly, the second one relates to the KZN school assault, where a young lady was assaulted by a young guy as
How
well.
many months ago, though?
That thing happened in November last year. It only came to realization once it was on Twitter. And I have to admit, I mean, it was on timeline. People would tag me and say, have you seen this? And I always have to exercise value judgment insofar as what is it that I share and what is it that I don't share, and how I phrase it insofar as sharing is concerned. So eventually I then said, listen, here's this thing. We understand that this has happened in KZN. We are looking into it, and we're hoping there'll be results. And there's a gentleman called Nkaniso Ngulana who, saw it and said, listen, I have a few people in KZN who can assist. I'll identify the school. The following morning, we'll give a report back to Twitter, because people want to know what has happened, other than just tweeting and retweeting about it. Eventually, the school was identified. Times Life also came in and helped in really locating the source. We then found who the lady was, who the young man was, when the incident happened.
Videographer.
And then, the other person who took it, because I think it was really silly. Because for me, that's also a crime. You said someone's getting assaulted, you don't do anything, but rather want to put it and become viral. That was crazy. But it was very interesting because I had to balance, the rights of a minor and having people know about it. And as I said, that value judgment, in my view, assisted. We know that he's now out on bail, and he's facing the legal process. The young lady is getting assistance. There's been counseling and the arrangements insofar as her getting school and the likes. The other issue that I think one would also highlight, and it's always just controversial, the Duduzi Manana issue as well. I think that's also something that has come to the fore, and it talks to other bigger issues that we have in the society, against women, children, and the likes. And I have to say that I think people, and especially if you are in a position of leadership, one needs to conduct himself or herself with certain
moral standards.
And once that falls, it then raises a host of issues. And that on its own, there's a process. We now know that he subsequently apologized. And he says, and then I've been following this closely, he's getting professional help. And I think it's important, to deal with this. And there'll be lessons from Duduzi Manana, who will then say,
himself,
I did this and I've asked for forgiveness. And I will urge young men, for example, in society not to do it again, because these are the implications. And I think social media in that regard has been powerful to raise awareness, to say, listen, take a stance, ANC, deal with your person, and more importantly, remove him from this particular position. And eventually it had happened. But in my view, if it went for the people, if it went for other things that were happening, would not have seen this particular action. So in really summarizing, we are in very interesting times insofar as politics and issues surrounding private and public sectors are concerned. People need to really get up and become vocal about issues. I think if people are intending on using #CountryDuty, let's do it positively. It sometimes, and then I've heard the criticism that, listen, it seems you are not going to criticize the EFF. I'm putting it out there and I'm saying, if they are out of line, let people get onto the hashtag. Let's open the debate. Let's have that discussion. And ultimately, it's not for Tumi to say they're right or wrong. It's for people to form their own views and eventually, get that debate and discussion is concerned.
You're actually saying something very, very, very interesting, because I think that's one of the conversation I was having with Floyd. We had an event, and then Floyd, Floyd Shibamu gets into something else, and we're actually saying, no, right now we're living in such interesting times that it is not about which party you're affiliated with. It is about looking for the things that are going to make the country work,
100%.
and that is what we are working for. That is what we are yearning for. That is what the people are hungry for. And right now, it doesn't matter which color you wear. We've got a serious thing that we're dealing with, and we want a positive end in mind. I cannot believe that the time has gone so fast.
Here's my closing punchline. I see CountryDuty becoming a political party.
In fact, you had asked that question. I did answer it. Politics, I don't think so. At least for now.
At least for
but
now.
the offer is going to come.
Listen, we can have this conversation in another 3, 4, 5 years.
Probably.
You never know.
Absolutely.
You never know. But all I can say is that to me, you're doing well. You and the team. You and us, the team.
Of course.
CountryDuty. We are doing well. We are being led by Bakithi. And I think with the way things are going, the country is in good hands. And we appreciate each and everything that you do. Keep doing it. We know you don't get paid for it. And we're glad that you have a job. And so that you don't stress us. So go make your money and still come back and serve the country, because that's definitely what you're called to do.
Yep.
And we are there checking you out, cheering you on, and saying, let's put the country back in order to where it's supposed to be. This has been BeLighted. Maromza, do you want to say something? Do you want to say bye to me?
No. I wanted to say we note your tweet, Sandino Uno.
Leadership.
Yes. Yeah, we appreciate your comment.
I said the other one going CIC.
Well,
yeah. So yeah, no. Thank you so much for coming through.
thank you.
And I think you deserve another hour or two.
Yeah,
because I think you have so much to unpack.
There's so much we can talk about.
That would be great. And thanks for having me. There's an official CountryDuty Twitter account. It's at CountryDuty ZA. It's the official one where we put in statements, we discuss. It's my handle as well, Tumi Sole, as well. Anything goes really. So if you think I won't talk DA, or I'll drop a video, I'll say whatever. And I think sometimes people must, and I'm just pleading, reduce a bit of expectations on some of my tweets. I'm also a person, and I'm trying to,
playful
I want to do that. And I think one needs to see that side of Twitter and humor and fun. Absolutely. So thank you for having me. It's been great.
It's been great. Thank you so much for coming through.
Ramstar, have a lovely week.
You have a lovely week
love
too.
You. Cheers.
So Tumi, when are we going to a wedding? I'm kidding, guys.
It's wedding season. It's wedding season. Not much I can tell you.
Yeah, guys, that has been BeLighted. We'll be back with you next week Monday with the beautiful author of Misbehave, Malebu Sipori, in studio next week Monday. Have a beautiful, beautiful week ahead. BeLighted. Bye.
Hi, I'm Salamina Musaisa from Azza TV. You are listening to BeLighted Show with Rami and Romeo on Cliff Central.
This is CliffCentral.com.